After the ancestral land test, the entire Gu family began to prepare for the feast for the Kangming patriarch to enter the imperial realm. At the same time, the head of the Yuan family, who had been frustrated by the Gu family, also returned to the king city where the third prince lived. What did the Gu family say? In the magnificent palace, the third prince stretched lazily. His eyes were defiant and his tone was indifferent. He glanced at the head of the Yuan family who walked into the palace and said indifferently. The head of the Yuan family hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to look up, and said respectfully, "Your Highness, I am incompetent and could not enter the Kangming King city at all," and was rejected by the Gu family. Oh, the people of the Gu family are just as I thought. They don't remember the old friendship. They are so hard-hearted. The third prince sneered as if he had expected it. Hearing his sanctimonious words, the head of the Yuan family hurriedly lowered his head and did not dare to look up. He said respectfully, "Your Highness, I am incompetent and could not enter the Kangming King city at all," and was rejected by the Gu family. Oh, the people of the Gu family are just as I thought. They don't remember the old friendship. They are so hard-hearted. The third prince sneered as if he had expected it. Hearing his sanctimonious words, even the head of the Yuan family couldn't hold back. Forget the old friendship? Your Highness, what old friendship do you have with the Gu family? If I really want to say this, I should say it to you, right? However, he naturally didn't dare to say these words, and even put on a flattering look, nodding repeatedly. Your Highness is right. The Gu family really doesn't know how to show respect, although the third prince and the ninth princess are fighting back and forth at the moment. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that the third prince's advantage is much greater than that of the ninth princess. The probability of becoming the lord of the dynasty in the future is at least 70%, so he dare not speak carelessly. That's all. The third prince waved his hand, not caring about his subordinates' thoughts at all. Let the Gu family go. It's just a newly promoted emperor. It can't affect the overall situation. However, we can't let the Gu family be so free and easy. Otherwise, if it gets out, people will think that it's me who can't discipline my subordinates. As he said, a hint of coldness flashed across the third prince's eyes. Spread the news for me. Whoever attends the Gu family's imperial banquet in 3 days will be against me. Do you understand? Hearing the words of the third prince, the head of the Yuan family couldn't help but change color slightly, and felt a little sympathy for the Gu family. As soon as this order was issued, he could foresee that the Gu family's imperial banquet in 3 days would be deserted. This is probably the first time that the imperial banquet has been so deserted in the Shenming dynasty for so many years. However, despite his sympathy, he did not dare to disobey the third prince. He immediately bowed and accepted the order, and then rushed to spread the news. Soon, all the prominent figures in the entire Shenming dynasty received the imperial decree from the third prince, and the ninth princess's mansion also received the report. It seems that the Gu family rejected the third prince's invitation. Otherwise, there would not be this imperial decree. Looking at the news sent by his subordinates, the ninth princess whispered to herself, in front of her. The maid who came to deliver the letter couldn't help asking, "Your Highness, how should we deal with this? The Gu family intends to lean on us, so this opportunity should not be missed. If the third brother doesn't go, then I, as a sister, will go to congratulate the ancestor Kangming. As for being his enemy, if I were afraid of him, why would I persist until today?" The ninth princess stood up gently, wearing a blood-red dress, which made her face more noble and cold. As her skirt fluttered, a pair of thrilling slender legs loomed. As she smiled, she had a sense of grace and domineering, which made the maid's eyes full of admiration. The surging undercurrent of the Shenming dynasty. The Kangming King city was not aware of it. However, 3 days later, with the opening of the Chenghuang banquet, looking at the deserted King city, everyone in the Gu family looked unhappy. Not only those families that were wooed by the third prince, but also those forces that had not yet officially expressed their stance, and even those forces that had good relations with the Gu family on weekdays. None of them sent envoys, although they had been mentally prepared for this result. But everyone in the Gu family was still a little disappointed. Even the ancestor Kangming looked a little depressed. But at this moment, the ninth princess is here, outside the Kangming King city. A singing voice came, and the sound spread thousands of miles and landed in the Gu family's palace, which immediately made everyone in the Gu family excited. "Please come in quickly." The ancestor Kangming immediately stood up and took many senior members of the Gu family to greet them. Soon, the ninth princess and some of her subordinates and their envoys were welcomed in, making the originally overly quiet venue a little more lively. Gu Changqing's eyes also fell on the ninth princess, with a look of a touch of surprise appeared. Since he came to this world, he has seen many women, but it is the first time that he has seen such a noble temperament as the ninth princess. If you want to give a score, his wife Zhang Liangxin should have a 100-point appearance. Huan Huang is 99, and Gu Qingqing's disciple has 96 points. And the ninth princess in front of him, in terms of appearance alone, she can score 97 points. Plus the queen's cold and noble, so that ordinary men dare not have the intention of blasphemy. But it can be added to 98, or even 99. Moreover, Gu Changqing's eyes slightly condensed on the ninth princess. His heart couldn't help but move slightly. Talent. Not bad. The ninth princess's talent is a little worse than Xuan Huang's. Huan Huang's fate is as high as the first red grade. It is a big step higher than the first gold grade of his wife Zhang Liangxin. although this ninth princess is not as good as her. She also has a destiny of the ninth rank of gold. Her name is Empress of Heaven's Fate, born with great fortune. People with this destiny, as long as they have enough resources and skills, can step into the realm of God Emperor in no time. And after achieving the realm of Emperor, if she is a noble lady of aristocratic family, she can increase the fortune of the family. And if she is a noble, she can increase the fortune of the country. And as the strength increases, the effect of increasing the fortune will also increase day by day. And she can use the fortune to practice and complement the family and the country. She is the master of destiny born with her. Extraordinary talent, full of potential for practice. What's more rare is that if you marry her, she can also increase the fortune of the family and the country. Gu Chongqing's eyes were full of admiration. Looking at the ninth princess, the future empress of the Shenmeng dynasty, he nodded secretly. Why is she the future empress? Because Gu Chongqing has decided to stand on the side of the ninth princess. First, it is to fulfill the friendship of the ninth princess who helped the Gu family before. Second, it is to deal with the enemies of the Kangming Gu family. Third, it is to consider the revival of the Gu family as the Chongqing God King, the current supreme elder of the Gu family. Sometimes I can't help myself and need to consider more for the family's fortune. Gu Chongqing sighed in his heart, with his hands behind his back, with a generous expression of making a great sacrifice. But the ninth princess couldn't help but look at Gu Chongqing a few more times, and there was a touch of surprise in her eyes. When did the Gu family have such an outstanding young man? I have never seen it before. The ninth princess was a little more curious about Gu Chongqing, and with the ninth princess bringing people, the originally deserted banquet became much more lively and went on smoothly. However, before everyone had a long time to celebrate. Old ghost Kangming, why didn't you invite me to your emperor's feast? Why? Do you feel that you, a mere descendant who just became an emperor, will feel ashamed in front of me? An arrogant and sarcastic voice suddenly sounded from the sky above Kangming King City. In an instant, it attracted the attention of the whole audience, and even made the Gu family look at it angrily. The ancestor Kangming even slammed the table and stood up. With a cold light in his eyes, old ghost Qingshan, do you want to fight to the death with my Gu family? Fight to the death. Ha! The owner of the sarcastic voice stepped out of the sea of clouds and his figure appeared. His face was clear. He was wearing a black robe, and his hands were thin, but there was a mysterious aura lingering on him, which made the surrounding spiritual energy feel faintly withered and dead. His aura was undisguised and bloomed outside. When he finished speaking, the cultivators of the entire Kangming King City felt a sense of boundless oppression. Even the envoys of the forces brought by the ninth princess all changed color. They looked at the old man in black robes with fear in their eyes. The Yu family, who is backed by the third prince, the ancestor of the family, the Qingshan Xuanhuang of the middle realm of the Xuanhuang. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to come here this time. For a moment, many of the monks present at the meeting frowned. When they looked at Patriarch Kangming, there was a hint of worry and even a little bit of strangeness in their eyes. The worry was that they felt that the strength of the Gu family was still far behind that of Emperor Qingshan. The strangeness also came from this. The gap in strength was obvious. So where did Patriarch Kangming get the confidence from? He dared to confront this old ghost Qingshan head on, and even said that he would fight to the death. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but look at the ninth princess. There was also a hint of surprise in the eyes of the ninth princess, but she reacted in an instant, thinking that this was Patriarch Kangming deliberately leaning towards her and giving her a chance. As long as he stood up and expressed his position at this moment, Patriarch Kangming and even the entire Gu family would fall to him. Of course, this means a head-on conflict with Emperor Qingshan. But for the ninth princess, as the lord, she should have such awareness. Otherwise, how can she get her subordinates to follow her? Immediately, she stood up, staring at the Qingshan Xuanhuang in the air with cold eyes, and did not speak. But an old woman who followed beside her had already released her breath. The Xuanhuang's pressure bloomed, facing the Qingshan Xuanhuang from a distance. Although she was not as powerful as the Qingshan Xuanhuang, the old woman was not afraid. After getting the hint from the ninth princess, she spoke directly in a cold voice. How dare you, Emperor Qingshan? Are you blind? Can't you see that the ninth princess is here? Oh, so the princess is here too. Forgive me for my poor eyesight. Emperor Qingshan pretended to be surprised and apologized repeatedly. But his attitude was not sincere at all. At the end, he changed the subject and waved his hand as if he was sending away a junior, saying, "But your highness, don't be afraid. I have always been respectful to the royal family. I am not here to cause trouble. I am just giving a great gift to old Kangming." As he said that, Emperor Qingshan suddenly waved his hand. Boom! Beside him, the spiritual energy swept through, but it directly cut a space crack. Immediately, a golden phoenix Nammu coffin with gorgeous carvings and exquisite patterns was directly thrown by him above the sea of clouds in front of everyone. This precious coffin, I carefully selected it. If it is placed in the mortal world, it may be worth 10,000 gold. I give it to you, Kangming. Are you satisfied? Dead silence. Dead silence. Looking at the coffin in the air, the people of the Gu family, and even the envoys who came to watch the ceremony, all changed their expressions, giving a coffin at the emperor's banquet. And if it is placed in the mortal world, it may be worth 10,000 gold. but among the cultivators, it is garbage that is not worth a single spiritual stone. Such humiliation is aimed at a fight to the death. Ancestor Kangming's eyes were cold, and Gu Wanli and other senior members of the Gu family clenched their fists with unconcealable anger in their eyes. As for the ninth princess, her beautiful eyes were also cold, but she was extremely regretful in her heart. She only hated herself for being too careless and underestimating the narrow-mindedness of her third brother. Although she was being bullied by the Qingshan patriarch, she could only endure it temporarily, and even had to drag the Kangming patriarch and the Gu family to endure it together. Otherwise, if there was a conflict, she might not worry. But the Gu family must be safe. Thinking of this, the ninth princess couldn't help but feel a little more sorry for the Gu family. On the Sea of Clouds, the Qingshan patriarch looked at the angry faces of the Gu family with an extremely satisfied expression, twisting his beard and smiling, shaking his head. From the looks of you, it seems that you are not very satisfied with this treasure coffin. Why are you so picky? This is made of top-grade golden phoenix nanmu. Ordinary people can't use it. Isn't it just right for your Gu family? How can you be dissatisfied? Satisfied. Of course, satisfied. Why not? The words of the Qingshan patriarch have not yet been finished. Below, in the venue, but there is the calm voice of Gu Changqing, quietly sounded. It's just that I think that you, old ghost, are more worthy of this treasure coffin than our Gu family. Silence. Deathly silence. As Gu Changqing finished speaking, the eyes of the entire venue fell on Gu Changqing, especially the envoys from various forces under the command of the ninth princess who came to watch the ceremony. All looked at Gu Changqing in a daze. Is this kid from the Gu family afraid that the Gu family will not die fast enough? If he said this, he would really force the Qingshan patriarch to tear his face with the Gu family right now and force the entire Gu family into a dead end. Sure enough, as Gu Changqing finished speaking, the Qingshan patriarch changed color. Young man, what did you say? He didn't have time to say the second half of the sentence, because almost at the moment he opened his mouth, swoosh, a gust of wind blew in his face, and when the Qingshan patriarch came to his senses, he was horrified to find that Gu Changqing, whom he regarded as an unknown young man of the Gu family, had just come to him. With the force of thunder, he directly pinched his neck. Gillette let go. The face of the Qingshan patriarch was full of fear, and he subconsciously wanted to break free from Gu Changqing's grasp, but he was shocked to find that when Gu Changqing's hand fell on his neck, all the spiritual power in his dantian was firmly locked in his body, and he couldn't use it at all. The whole person could only struggle in vain like an ordinary old man in the mortal world, even more powerless than an old man in the mortal world. And this discovery made the Qingshan patriarch's heart terrified to the extreme. You know, he is a strong man in the middle stage of the Xuanhuang. If he can be restrained, this realm is probably more than the late stage of the Xuanhuang. It is possible to be the perfect Xuanhuang. I admit my fault. Forgive me. Qingshan patriarch no longer cared about his face and wanted to ask for mercy. But Gu Changqing's expression was extremely calm and indifferent. Forgive you. Didn't I say that this coffin is very suitable for you? After saying that, Gu Changqing held the hand of Qingshan patriarch, and then he exerted a little force, and the moment of spiritual power was activated. Crack! Under the horrified gaze of the whole audience, this Xuanhuang master, who was also a famous master in the Shenmeng dynasty, was directly strangled by Gu Changqing, and his whole body, lungs, dantian, and sea of consciousness were shattered. He died on the spot above the Sea of Clouds, Gudong, looking at Gu Changqing with a calm expression, then looking at Qingshan patriarch, who was dead and could not die anymore. Whether it was the envoys from all parties who attended the meeting or the ninth princess herself, their hearts were filled with shock. When has the Gu family ever had such an emperor-level expert? Isn't it said that there is only the Kangming patriarch, the emperor-level expert? And the ninth princess's chest was heaving like a mountain, looking at Gu Changqing in the air. There was also a strange light flashing in her beautiful eyes. This Gu family emperor-level expert is so domineering. He even dared to kill the Qingshan patriarch directly. What a fascinating spirit. Just when everyone was shocked, Gu Changqing had already raised his hand and threw the dead Qingshan patriarch's body into the coffin he sent. This size is really quite suitable. Even Gu Changqing couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, and a strange color appeared in his eyes. And hearing his word, the people below who witnessed the whole process couldn't help but have strange expressions. This Qingshan patriarch probably never dreamed that he would send this treasure coffin, but in the end, no one from the Gu family was put in it, but he was stuffed in it. However, looking at the tightly fitted coffin, even they had to admit that this coffin was really suitable for Qingshan patriarch. After doing all this, Gu Changqing raised his hand again, directly following the space crack that Qingshan patriarch had just torn open, stretched out a spiritual hand, and grabbed a strong man from Qingshan patriarch's family from the space crack. The strong man was originally guarding outside Kangming King City, waiting for the ancestor to return after humiliating the Gu family, and then go to the third prince to seek credit. He was suddenly grabbed by Gu Changqing's hand, and his eyes were filled with boundless fear and horror when he saw his own ancestor stuffed into the coffin, and then looked at Gu Changqing in front of him. His calves softened instantly, and with a thud, he knelt down directly in the clouds, his body trembling, unable to even beg for mercy. Don't worry, I won't kill you. But there is something I need you to do. Gu Changqing looked at the Yu family strongman kneeling on the ground, spoke gently, but his tone was chilling. He grabbed the treasure coffin and threw it to the man, then shot out a stream of spiritual power, which fell into his body. Go and give this gift to the third prince behind you. Tell him that our Gu family will never forget the great kindness he showed to our Gu family. This gift is just a small thank you gift from our Gu family. It is not a token of respect. In the future, there will be more gifts. Tell him to be polite, feeling the spiritual power in his body, which was like a beheading sword hanging over his head and falling at any time. The Yue family strongman looked ashen, but he did not dare to say a word. He could only nod his head and walk away with the treasure coffin in the venue, under the shocked gaze of all the participants. Watch the strongman leave. The masters present involuntarily looked at Gu Changqing. In their minds, they all thought of 4 big words: a peerless, ruthless man. This is the real peerless, ruthless man. Kill your people and send them humiliation directly. Not to mention that Gu Changqing's strength is already strong. This domineering attitude makes the few envoys who are really enemies of the third prince respect them. Even the 9th princess is no exception. Just when everyone present had the impression of Gu Changqing rising to a peerless, ruthless man outside the magnificent palace of the royal city where the third prince resides, the news came with the gatekeeper monk. There was a strange color in the eyes of the third prince. A gift from the Yue family. Could it be that Qingshan, the old immortal, directly brought me the head of Gu Changming? The third prince narrowed his eyes slightly, and there was a hint of expectation in his eyes. Although he said he disdained the Gu family, he felt slapped in the face when the Gu family dared to leave directly that day. After all, in his eyes, thunder and rain were all grace from the emperor. He did not destroy the Gu family directly after they left, so the Gu family should be grateful to him. But the Gu family was not only ungrateful, but also dared to be petty. Even Gu Changming really broke into the emperor realm, which made the third prince feel that it was a mistake for him not to cut the grass and root it out. Although this old thing of the Yue family is a little weak, it is still very useful. The third prince muttered to himself while asking someone to present the gift. However, when his men pushed the treasure coffin over, his eyes were stunned for a moment, and his face was gloomy. This old dog of the Yue family is really unworthy of praise. Just kill Gu Changming. What else do you need to put in this coffin? Open it. Take a look and send it out to burn. The third prince's words were stuck in his throat halfway through. There was a look of astonishment and anger in his eyes that could not be hidden, which quickly emerged and filled his eyes. It was because the servant who pushed the coffin in pushed open the coffin door tactfully. Then, the third prince saw the face of the old dog of the Yue family who he said was capable, and died with his eyes wide open. Gu family of Kangming. You guys really don't know how to live or die? Kangming Royal City. The third prince was so angry that he lost his composure and denounced the Gu family for not knowing how to live or die. At this moment, the atmosphere of the banquet became more and more heated, and the mood of the 9th princess was also very good, and she was in a good mood until she left. The Gu family has 2 emperors, especially the Changqing Palace, the supreme elder of the Gu family. The strength is extremely strong, and it is very likely to reach the perfection of the Xuanhuang. The addition of such a strong man is a very powerful shot of adrenaline for her and even the forces under her command. Moreover, thinking of Gu Changqing, the demeanor when he raised his hand to kill the Qingshan patriarch, the 9th princess is indeed an extraordinary figure, and she quickly adjusted her mentality. Right now, it is not the time to think about love affairs. As the Lord, she now has to focus on fighting the third prince. This is not only her own goal, but also her responsibility to the forces under her command. The 9th princess said goodbye and left after the emperor's feast. The Gu family also entered a stage of growth. The elders of the Gu family went into seclusion one after another and began to absorb and refine the 7 mysterious divine flame pills given by Gu Changqing and the younger generations of the Gu family, with the encouragement of Gu Changqing's acceptance of disciple, also practiced with all their strength. I only hope that one day I can also be valued by His Highness Changqing, not to mention being accepted as a disciple. It is also a great opportunity for them to point out a few difficulties in cultivation. In this way, half a month passed in a flash. In this half month, Gu Changqing did not practice much, but focused on guiding his disciples and Yunqi siblings to solve their puzzles in practice. The strength of the little guys has improved by leaps and bounds, except for Gu Yunqi and Gu Qingchen, because they have already entered the king realm. Half a month of retreat did not improve their realm much, but only increased their combat power a lot, like Gu Qingcheng, Gu Qinger, Gu Xir. The realm and combat power have all skyrocketed. Gu Qinger's realm has directly reached the early stage of the half-king, and her killing power is so high that ordinary Xuan kings are not her opponents. Although Gu Qingcheng started late, her realm has also reached the 7th level of the Calamity realm, relying on her own talent. If she takes action, her strength is inferior to Gu Qinger. Even Gu Xir, who has the worst qualifications, has also jumped into the perfection of the Calamity realm, and her killing power can be said to be invincible under the King realm. Seeing the little guy's strength growing steadily, Gu Changqing was also quite relieved. However, just when he was at ease instructing the younger generation to practice. But there was another unexpected news. The children of the Gu family had a conflict with others and were injured. The eyes of the ancestor Kangming were all cold. Who is the other party? Yes, it is the Lei family, the Sun family, and several young people of the Chen family. In addition, there is the young master of the Chen family. The young master of the Chen family. Hearing this name, Gu Wanli and the ancestor Kang Ming frowned. The Lei family, the Sun family, and the Chen family are all practicing families in the camp of the three princes. In terms of power, they are much stronger than the Yue family. The Yue family has only one Qingshan ancestor, who is in the middle stage of the Xuanhuang, but these three families have strong men in the late Xuanhuang period, especially the Chen family, whose ancestors have already entered the realm of Xuanhuang perfection, and he trained him. The young master of the Chen family, Chen Fengyun, is also quite powerful. In the third prince's camp, among the many young generation of geniuses, it is more than enough to rank in the top 10. However, even if he knew that the other party was not small, it was obvious that he had planned it. The revenge of the third prince came so quickly. It's really a prince who can't keep his temper. In this way, he is not very qualified to be the future king. Gu Changqing's voice came slowly. I'll go there. The ancestor Kang Ming immediately stood up and prepared to go to the Yunlong Mountains not far from Kang Ming Royal City, where the conflict took place. But before he had time to leave, he heard Gu Changqing's calm voice from the depths of the ancestral space. Kang Ming, you practice with peace of mind. I'll take care of this matter. Gu Changqing stood up. Your Highness the Third Prince, since you want to play, let's have fun. It seems that the death of one emperor is not enough to make you feel sad. Then, how many people will die? As for why not let Patriarch Kang Ming go? It is because his current cultivation level is too low. Since the other party knows that I have killed the Qingshan Patriarch, they still dare to provoke my Gu family. Obviously, they are well prepared. I am afraid that their strength is not comparable to that of the previous Qingshan Patriarch. You go. It will be useless, Gu Changqing said. The Kang Ming Patriarch lowered his head in shame, but Gu Changqing was very calm. Waving his hand to encourage, there is no need to belittle yourself or anything because of this. You should quickly refine the elixir I gave you. Not to mention breaking into the God Emperor Giant, the Heavenly Emperor realm. You can always achieve it. By then, you can also share some of my worries. Don't say that the Kang Ming Patriarch was ashamed. Even Gu Changqing felt that he should cultivate some strong people, such as the Kang Ming Patriarch. Otherwise, too many things have to be done by himself, so he might as well stop practicing. But there was no other way. Gu Changqing's strength improved too fast. Several of his subordinates could no longer keep up with him. Only Emperor Xuan was still dealing with the affairs of the newly established Xuantian Palace. Hearing Gu Changqing's encouragement, Patriarch Kang Ming nodded seriously, with a real flame of fighting spirit in his eyes. He immediately bowed and said, Please rest assured, Your Highness, I will definitely live up to your expectations. Go! Gu Changqing nodded and asked Patriarch Kang Ming to go down to practice. On his side, he took several senior members of the Gu family and rushed to the Yunlong Mountains. The Yunlong Mountains were tense at this moment. After the news that the children of the Gu family were bullied by the Tianjiao of the Third Prince's camp spread, many children of the Gu family who were training in other areas of the Yunlong Mountains came to rescue them. Gu Qinger was among them. But when they arrived at the site of the conflict and saw the situation clearly, even Gu Qinger, who was tough and calm, could not help but be filled with anger. In the Gu family's lineup, several Gu family prodigies were seriously injured. The worst one had fainted and was barely hanging on to life thanks to the spiritual power supplied by several older Gu family members. This was not what they called a competition. This was clearly a fatal blow, destroying the other party's cultivation path. Why, the young people of the Gu family are only this little bit strong, dared to disobey His Royal Highness the Third Prince. I thought the Gu family was so powerful. Looking at the newly arrived prodigies of the Gu family, they were all indignant. On this battlefield, the young prodigies of the Third Prince's camp all sneered. The leader, a young man in a purple robe with a cold smile, sneered and spoke faintly, with a bloodthirsty killing intent in his tone. Chen Fengyun, looking at the cold aura in the young man's eyes. Many of the Gu family's prodigies, who knew his record, could not help but frown. With deep fear in their eyes, only Gu Qinger wanted to get up and take action immediately. However, before she could move, swish, swish. In the distance, there were already several sounds of breaking through the air. Immediately, under the surprised gaze of the Gu family's prodigies, Gu Changqing brought Gu Wanli and several other Gu family high-level officials to the sky above this battlefield. At a glance, they first saw the severely injured Gu family's prodigy. Their eyes became even colder and colder. Is this the revenge of the Third Prince? Gu Wanli took action to treat and stabilize the Gu family's prodigy while looking at Chen Fengyun. His eyes were filled with anger that could not be hidden. Why? The head of the Gu family wants to do it himself. Head of the Gu family, if you are not convinced, you can leave. However, if you leave, then we old men should accompany you to solve it. So the disputes between the younger generations should be solved by the younger generations. Otherwise, it will be us bullying your Gu family. Your Highness Changqing, don't you agree? Gu Wanli's words had just fallen. A strange voice came from behind Chen Fengyun and others. Immediately, there were 3 old men in the imperial realm who were as arrogant and domineering as Chen Fengyun and other young geniuses under the command of the Third Prince. They came in the air. The auras of the 3 people bloomed, and without exception, they all reached the level of the imperial realm. The ancestor of the Chen family, who was the leader, was a genuine Xuanhuang perfection. At this moment, he was the one who spoke, and finally asked Gu Changqing a question. The provocation in his words was heard by even a fool. The people around all changed color. These three are not the coffin bearers of that day, and they are comparable to the Qingshan patriarch. The Gu family will have a hard time today. Even if there are thousands of humiliations, they can only endure it. Once a war breaks out, even if His Highness Changqing is there, I am afraid it will be suppressed in an instant. However, just when these people thought that the Gu family was destined to be defeated this time, Gu Changqing smiled. Let the younger generation solve the disputes among themselves. Okay, that's what you said. Remember what you said just now. Gu Changqing smiled slightly, raised his hand and motioned Gu Qinger to come forward, pointed at Chen Fengyun, who was showing off his power on the opposite side, and spoke softly. But his tone was full of boundless domineering. Qinger, go and destroy him. Yes. Seeing the arrival of the master, Gu Qinger was extremely excited and wanted to show her master the results of her current cultivation. She had received guidance from Gu Changqing in her early years, and now she was in Kangming Gu's family, being taught by Gu Changqing. Her strength was so strong that no one could compare to her peers in Kangming Gu's family, except for the Yunxi siblings. No one could compare to her. However, Chen Fengyun and others naturally had no idea about these situations. Watching Gu Qinger come forward, Chen Fengyun's eyes suddenly lit up, and his tone couldn't help but become flowery. There is such a beauty in the Gu family. Not bad. Little girl, I will give you a chance to be my maid. I can consider it and spare your life. Chen Fengyun's words did not hide his contempt and teasing. The geniuses behind him who were also in the third prince's camp all laughed at the right time. However, to their surprise, whether it was the senior members of the Gu family or the Gu family geniuses who were watching the battle behind them, after hearing Chen Fengyun's presumptuous words, they all looked calm, and even looked at Chen Fengyun with a bit of pity. Dare to tease Gu Qinger? You're dead. The next second, swoosh! Chen Fengyun only felt a gust of wind in front of him, whistling, making him subconsciously want to raise the spirit sword in his hand to block the attack. It must be said that, although he was a little arrogant, he had talent and his reaction ability was also quite good. At the critical moment, he used the spirit sword in his hand to block Gu Qinger's attack. The sound of metal clashing exploded in the center of the battlefield, which made Chen Fengyun feel a little relieved, although he didn't know how Gu Qinger trained to be so fast. It would be easy to block this attack. Next, puff! Chen Fengyun's thoughts were instantly stagnant. He lowered his head stiffly, looking at the sword light that pierced his chest and the spiritual sword in his hand that was shattered almost at the moment of collision. He looked at Gu Qinger in front of him again, and there was unstoppable fear and horror in his eyes. The novel was taken from the Rollies website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Chen Fengyun's wailing sounded throughout the battlefield. While screaming, he desperately retreated under the horrified gaze of the third prince's camp, trying to break free from the sword stabbed by Gu Qinger. But no matter how he struggled, the spiritual sword was deeply stuck in his chest, and it didn't shake for a moment. Even many of the Gu family's geniuses were stunned. They knew that Gu Qinger was very strong. After all, she was a disciple personally instructed by His Highness Changqing. But Chen Fengyun was not too weak either. In the third prince's camp, the young generation was enough to rank among the top 10. With this strength, he could not say much against Gu Qinger. But it should not be a problem to last for 5 or 7 rounds. But what did they see? Just one strike. Just one round? Chen Fengyun, who was famous in the entire Shenming dynasty, was defeated by Gu Qinger in a clean and neat manner. He was beaten half to death and begged for help like a dead dog. Just when they were shocked, over there, the 3 emperor-level ancestors who were arrogant before and mocked the Gu family all the time, all changed color, especially the Chen family ancestor, Chen Fengyun. But the young master of their Chen family is the future of their Chen family. If he is well trained, he will be expected to enter the Heavenly Emperor realm in the future, and the status of the entire Chen family will leap to a new level. How can he let Gu Qinger kill him directly? Youngster, stop! The Chen family ancestor shouted, and the spiritual power in his body surged, turning into a stream of light like a dragon, and blasted towards Gu Qinger, trying to force Gu Qinger away and repel her. A sneer came from Gu Changqing's mouth. Seeing the action of the Chen family ancestor, Gu Changqing, who had been prepared for a long time, also took a step forward and appeared directly in front of the Chen family ancestor. He slapped out with a palm lightly and smashed the spiritual power dragon blasted out by the Chen family ancestor. Then, Gu Changqing turned around and slapped again. Under the gaze of the Tianzhao and the other 2 emperor-level ancestors, he directly landed on the top of the Chen family ancestor's head. And then, puff! This Chen family ancestor who has reached the perfection of Xuanhuang is a rare person, even under the command of the third prince. But he didn't even have time to let out a scream, and was directly killed by Gu Changqing's palm and turned into a ball of blood mist. What did you say just now? The fight between the juniors is up to the juniors themselves? Why are you interfering? I'll give you this back. Gudong. Looking at the Chen family ancestor whose body was blasted by Gu Changqing's palm and turned into a ball of blood mist, deader than dead. Everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva involuntarily. Looking at Gu Changqing's eyes, they were all terrified to the extreme. The Chen family ancestor, a powerful Xuanhuang perfect. In front of Gu Changqing, he was not much stronger than the previous Qingshan ancestor, and was also killed by Gu Changqing with a palm, What made them even more confused was what to say, or Gu Changqing's last words. It was regarded as returning the words of the Chen family ancestor just now, really killing people and destroying their hearts. But the two emperor-level ancestors thought even further, thinking of Gu Changqing. They deliberately asked their disciples, the Gu family junior named Gu Qinger, to take action. It is possible that they wanted to force the Chen family ancestor to take action and kill him. The death of the Chen family ancestor was in vain. Even if the third prince wanted to punish the Gu family, with the rules of the Shenming dynasty, it would be difficult to speak. After all, it was the Chen family ancestor who dug a hole for himself and jumped into it. Thinking of this, the eyes of the two emperor-level ancestors and even the young geniuses under the third prince were full of fear and dread when they looked at Gu Changqing. And corresponding to this, it was the eyes of the young people of the Gu family. Each of them was extremely enthusiastic, especially those young people of the Gu family who were injured in the previous conflict. The eyes they looked at Gu Changqing at this moment could be described as fanatical. The battle in Yunlong Mountains ended with the young geniuses under the command of the third prince, who withdrew in disgrace under the leadership of the two emperor-level ancestors and dared not approach Yunlong Mountains, and the news spread along with it. There was also the terrifying record of Gu Changqing killing the Chen family ancestor with one palm. As this record spread, the entire Shenming dynasty was excited, boiling. All forces were also lively again because of this. For example, Yuntian sect. This is a very important force under the command of the 9th princess. The ancestor of the sect is a genuine emperor-level perfect strongman, much stronger than the Chen family ancestor, with such a level of master sitting in the camp. The prosperity of the Yuntian sect is self-evident. But at this moment, as the first of the young generation of the Yuntian sect, even the elders of the Yuntian sect respect him very much. The look of the Yuntian Saint Ye Yen is extremely hurried, as if he has encountered something extraordinary after returning from the training outside. He rushed back to the mountain gate at the fastest speed to pay homage to his master. Also the Yuntian ancestor? At this time, the Yuntian ancestor was in seclusion. But when he knew that it was his most beloved disciple who wanted to see him, he immediately came out of retreat and asked Ye Yen to come and see him. Yaner, what happened to you? Why are you so upset? When he saw Ye Yen for the first time, Patriarch Yuntian raised his eyebrows slightly. A little surprised, his disciple has always been calm and resolute, and it is rare to see him lose his composure like this. Hearing the master's question, Ye Yen immediately said, I dare not hide it from you. Master, I am here to report to you. To report the situation of the Kangminggu family. That day, the 9th princess led the envoys of various forces under her command to congratulate the Gu family at the banquet for becoming the emperor, and Ye Yen was by her side. At that time, Ye Yen was also deeply shocked by the strength shown by Gu Changqing, and he has been paying close attention to the Gu family since then. After the news of the battle in Yunlong Mountains spread, Ye Yen was naturally the first to receive the news. But Patriarch Yuntian looked indifferent when he heard Ye Yen say it was about the Gu family. He lost interest even more. He was just patient because Ye Yen was his beloved disciple. Then tell me, let me hear, what happened to the Gu family? In the eyes of Patriarch Yuntian, Kangminggu family was just lucky and found another Xuanhuang master. But how strong could they be? Xuanhuang perfection was the top, but how could this strength influence the overall situation? You know, even if he is the Patriarch Yuntian who has already entered the Heavenly Emperor perfection, he still has to go with the flow in the face of this trend. A mere Gu Changqing is really not worth mentioning. However, listening to Ye Yen's next report, Patriarch Yuntian also showed a look of surprise. Although it is rare for a disciple to defeat Chen Fengyun, it is a fight between juniors after all, not worth mentioning. But the ancestor of the Chen family was slapped to death by the Changqing palace of the Gu family. It was indeed so true that even the Yuntian patriarch was extremely surprised. The Changqing prince of the Gu family is really well hidden. According to what you said, the cultivation level of this Changqing prince is, I'm afraid he has already reached the level of the emperor realm. Yes, that's why I'm a little worried, Ye Yen said softly. With the Gu family being so powerful, I don't know if the third prince will regret letting the Gu family go and leaving the Zhu family behind after receiving the news. Looking at the worried expression of the disciple, Yuntian patriarch smiled. Yaner, what are you thinking about? Let alone the Gu family. There is only this Changqing prince. Even if there are more, it won't affect the situation at all. The third prince's power is set. A mere Gu family. A mere 1 or 2 emperors. Can't change the overall situation at all. Whether it's the Gu family or the 9th princess, it won't be long before they will be annihilated in front of the prince. Ancestor Yuntian spoke calmly. But the words he said, if spread to the outside world, would probably cause an uproar. After all, Yuntian sect is now an important force in the 9 princesses' camp. But now it said such treasonous words. But Ye Yen, in front of Ancestor Yuntian, was calm, and it was obvious that he had known about this. The Yuntian sect, on the surface, is under the command of the 9 princesses, but in fact, it has already defected to the 3rd prince's camp, but has not officially defected. Ye Yen came here because of this, and he was extremely worried, although the ancestor said it domineeringly. But in Ye Yen's opinion, when Gu Changqing killed the Qingshan patriarch that day, he was so casual and indifferent, like crushing an ant to death. That is not something that an ordinary emperor can show. Even, to put it bluntly, Ye Yen felt that even the master in front of him, the Yuntian patriarch, in front of Gu Changqing, There was a world of difference. That domineering attitude. The strong fearlessness of any consequences, and the indifference of looking down on everything. It left an extremely deep impression on Ye Yan, as if, don't say the third prince, even the current emperor, the giant of the divine emperor. I'm afraid that His Highness Chongqing will not take it seriously, Ye Yan said softly, and even wanted to persuade the ancestor not to rush to tear his face with the ninth princess for the time being. At least, let's take a look at the specific strength of His Highness Chongqing first. Listening to Ye Yan's words, Patriarch Yuntian couldn't help but laugh, and didn't take Ye Yan's words to heart at all. As for what Ye Yan said, such as attitude and state of mind, Patriarch Yuntian just regarded it as a joke. After all, no matter how talented his apprentice is, no matter how worthy of cultivation, his age is here. In the final analysis, he is just a junior. No matter how much experience he has, his understanding of the realm and the real strong is only on paper, which is why he was frightened by His Highness Chongqing. Seeing Ye Yan's last words, he still needs to observe Gu Chongqing's strength. Patriarch Yuntian couldn't listen anymore, waved his hand, and said with a smile, Yanner, don't say anymore. Don't say that His Highness Chongqing is only the Xuanhuang Tianhuang, even if he is the God Emperor. He is just an ant in front of the third prince. Our Yuntian sect can get benefits by leaning on the third prince now. But if we stay with the ninth princess, the Yuntian sect will be destroyed soon. Listening to the words of the ancestor, Ye Yan was a little dumbfounded. What the ancestor said was too exaggerated. Even if His Highness Chongqing is a giant of the divine emperor, he is just like an ant in front of the third prince. Will he not be able to withstand it? Is there such a powerful person in the third prince's camp? Looking at Ye Yan's puzzled eyes, the Yuntian ancestor did not keep the secret any longer, but just spoke softly and said a sentence which made Ye Yan wake up from a dream, and his heart trembled. The third prince has already received the support of the Tantai family. The Tantai family. This is the most mysterious hidden family in the entire Shenming dynasty, bar none. Before Emperor Mengshan established the Shenming dynasty, the Tantai family had already taken root here and practiced in seclusion. It is even said that when Emperor Mengshan came forward to establish the Shenming dynasty, he first obtained the permission of the Tantai family, and then he was able to establish this dynasty. The truth of this matter is unknown, but one thing is certain. That is, the Tantai family's status in the Shenming dynasty is very high, even above the royal family. Therefore, although there are few people from the Tantai family who travel outside, they never participate in the struggles of the dynasty and rarely contact the outside world. But in the entire Shenming dynasty, no force dares to forget the existence of the Tantai family, and Ye Yan is no exception. After hearing the name of the Tantai family mentioned by his master, his eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The Tantai family rarely appears in the world, and has never been having participated in the dynasty dispute before. Why did he take the initiative this time? Ancestor Yuntian shook his head. This is a secret that even I, the ancestor, don't know. But there is no doubt that the Tantai family supports the third prince. Otherwise, why would I, the ancestor, betray the ninth princess so straightforwardly? Speaking of this, Patriarch Yuntian also sighed. Compared with the mean and ungrateful third prince, the ninth princess is indeed more worthy of following. But in the face of the threat of the Tantai family, the ninth princess's advantage is really too insignificant. Even more, not only the Yuntian sect, but Patriarch Yuntian already knows that no less than 50% of the forces that were originally in the ninth princess's camp secretly rebelled to the third prince's side. If you count those that he hasn't noticed yet, the forces under the ninth princess have actually almost withered. Looking at Ye Yan, who was still confused, Patriarch Yuntian said lightly, Yanner, do you still have any worries now? Ye Yan hesitated for a moment, but still couldn't help wanting to speak again and persuade the ancestor. Even if all the advantages in the current situation are on the side of the third prince, he is still a little uneasy. This is a special ability he has mastered since he was a child. It can't be said to be a talent for cultivation, but when encountering a certain crisis, he can sense it. He can go from a mountain village boy to now, the perfect emperor, the direct disciple of the Yuntian ancestor, the leader of the younger generation of the Yuntian sect. His own talent is one aspect, and his intuition is also very important. Otherwise, he would have died in those real life and death crises in his past life. Ancestor, I still think we should be cautious, even if we really want to turn to the third prince. My Yuntian sect can try to be the last one to jump over. The Yuntian ancestor didn't say anything else, but just glanced at his beloved disciple. The last one to jump over. Then how can we gain a foothold under the third prince at that time, let alone being rewarded? I am afraid that after other forces have divided up the loyal followers of the ninth princess, they will start to exclude our Yuntian sect. That's enough. Seeing that Ye Yan wanted to say more, but the Yuntian patriarch was no longer interested in listening to him, and directly waved his hand to interrupt him. The patriarch has made a decision. Yanner, don't say anything more. Looking at the ancestor's resolute look, he would not allow any more words to be said. Ye Yan opened his mouth, but finally gave up in disappointment. He walked out of the hall and looked at the prosperous scene at the foot of the mountain. He could not help but sigh in his heart. His intuition told him that he could not go against Gu Changqing, who suddenly appeared in the Gu family. But he was powerless. He could only bite the bullet. Fortunately, with the banner of the Tantai family, although Ye Yen was still a little uneasy in his heart. It was much less than when he first came to see the ancestor. Maybe I am really too nervous this time. After all, in front of the Tantai family, everything will be ruthlessly crushed. No one knew about the conversation between Master Ye Yen and his apprentice in Yuntian sect, but since the battle in Yunlong Mountains, it is not known whether it was because of the strong attitude shown by the Gu family that angered the third prince's camp, or the third prince's side got some kind of booster. The overall style of behavior has become more radical, which can be seen by anyone. For a time, the Shenming dynasty became a little chaotic. The emperor-level masters who were rarely seen in the past few years frequently appeared, and duels between emperors were common. The only thing to be thankful for was that the emperors on both sides. The realm has not fallen yet. There are only two precedents, the Qingshan Patriarch and the Chen family Patriarch, who were unlucky enough to meet Gu Changqing. Although there were no casualties, there were quite a lot of injured. This is the case for the old generation of strongmen, not to mention the young generation of geniuses. However, for Gu Changqing, these things are nothing worth caring about. Even the affairs of the entire Shenming dynasty are nothing worth his attention. But he doesn't look for trouble. But he can't help but find trouble. Is this an invitation to fight? The invitation to fight of the younger generation has been sent to my Gu family. In the ancestral space, Gu Changqing looked at the red invitation to fight, raised his eyebrows, and looked at Gu Wanli, who came to deliver the message. Tell me what's going on. Gu Wanli nodded quickly and bowed to report. During this period of time, the battle between the high-level masters of the 9th princess and the 3rd prince was generally balanced, with each side winning and losing. But the young generation of geniuses was different. It seemed that it was because Chen Fangyun failed not long ago and wanted to get back at the game. The geniuses in the 3rd prince's camp directly formed a team, for he challenged the young geniuses of the major families under the 9th princess. Moreover, he won more than he lost, especially one of them, a genius who called himself Jianju. Before this, he had never been famous. But during this period, he challenged the top geniuses in the 9th princess's camp one after another, and he never lost, as his record became more and more brilliant. The geniuses he defeated became stronger and stronger. The entire Shenming dynasty was shocked, and just 2 days ago, the second-ranked genius under the 9th princess, the young master of the Ling family, Ling Kong, was also defeated by Jianju like a dead tree in rotten wood. So far, he has defeated 71 geniuses of the same generation in a row. He has the posture of being the #1 genius in the Shenming dynasty. The Gu family naturally sneered at this title. After seeing the talent and strength of the Yunxi sibling, the name of Jianju still couldn't scare them. But the other geniuses in the 9th princess's camp were different. Who is Ling Kong? A young genius in the middle stage of the half-king. In terms of strength, even ordinary half-king perfect masters can't beat him. His strength is second only to the original Shenming dynasty's first genius, and the first genius on the side of the 9th princess, Lin Yaoyue. But in the hands of Jianju, he couldn't even stop Jianju's sword. Such strength made the morale of the young geniuses in the 9th princess's camp plummet, and they were frustrated to the extreme. What's more terrifying is that not long after defeating Ling Kong, Jianju directly sent a red challenge letter to the major families in the 9th princess's camp. The challenge letter is an invitation letter, but it is not an invitation to fight them, but an invitation to them to go to the battle stage in the center of the imperial city to watch the ceremony. Watch him and the confrontation with Lin Yaoyue, the first genius of the Shenming dynasty and the pillar of many young geniuses on the 9th princess's side. For a time, all the forces under the 9th princess were faintly restless. Even the 9th princess was no exception. If he wins this battle, the morale of the 9th princess will inevitably be frustrated, and it may even cause those forces that have already wavered in their attitude to further lean towards the 3rd prince's side. Looking at the red challenge letter in her hand, the 9th princess frowned slightly, and there was a deep worry in her beautiful eyes. What did the other families say? She immediately put away the challenge letter and looked at the maid who came to deliver the message. The maid bowed hurriedly. On the Lin family side, Miss Yaoyu has decided to fight, and the date is set for 3 days later. The other families have also sent envoys to watch the ceremony. By the way, the maid hesitated for a moment and said, the Gu family also sent clansmen. It is said that the team is led by His Highness Changqing himself, and several disciples he trained are brought along. There is this thing. Hearing the news that Gu Changqing would also go to the ceremony, the 9th princess was startled at first, and then there was expectation in her eyes. However, this expectation did not last too long, and it dissipated. She laughed at herself and shook her head slightly. What was she thinking about? She had already found out some information about the situation of His Highness Changqing during this period. This person returned to the Gu family of Kangming when the Kangming Patriarch entered the Imperial Realm and took in the disciples of the major branches. How long has it been since he decided to accept a disciple and now Jianju challenged Lin Yaoyue? What kind of genius can be cultivated in less than 2 months? Instead of counting on the Gu family, it is better to count on Sister Yaoyue to be able to defeat Jianju, who suddenly jumped out. However, thinking of Jianju's previous achievements and his amazing strength that defeated Ling Kong with one sword, the heart of the 9th princess is always heavy, and it is difficult to relax even a little. And in such heavy thoughts, 3 days passed in a flash. In the center of the imperial city, the duel arena specially prepared for the young geniuses of the Shenming dynasty. The viewing platforms on both sides were already crowded with people and drums, as Jianzhu became famous in the Shenming dynasty. He even named and asked to duel with Lin Yaoyue. Almost all the young geniuses of the Shenming dynasty gathered here to witness this battle that may determine the future of the Shenming dynasty. The first genius, even many old masters were hiding in the void, secretly observing. The difference is, the young geniuses on the side of the third prince were all full of confidence and looked proud. On the other hand, on the side of the ninth princess, whether it was the old masters who came or the young geniuses in the ninth princess's camp, they were all in a heavy mood. It seems that there are quite a lot of people coming. Gu Chongqing also disappeared in the void and asked Gu Qinger to take Yunxi and his brother, as well as several geniuses of the Gu family, such as Gu Nishang, to the area around the ring to wait for the decisive battle. On the other hand, he scanned the situation around the ring and smiled slightly. He did not take the initiative to bring the little guys out this time. It was purely after receiving the invitation to fight that Yunxi and his brother could not help but beg him to take them to see how powerful the so-called peers of the Shenming dynasty were. It seems that they have been practicing hard during this period. Gu Chongqing thought about it and agreed. It was just right to bring a few disciples with him and come to see the geniuses of the Gu family, such as Gu Nishang. By the way, it can also be regarded as escorting the geniuses on the side of the ninth princess. If the little girl named Lin Yaoyue can win, then everything will be fine. If she can't hold on, then let Qinger or Yunxi go up. After all, according to Gu's intelligence network, Jianzhu suddenly appeared in the third prince's camp. There has never been such a person in the Shenming dynasty before. This may involve some conspiracy, so we should be on guard. Just as Gu Chongqing was pondering, swish, a figure jumped out from the outside of the crowd. He was wearing a white gown, with a black soft sword on his waist. He was slender and his temperament could be called heroic, but his eyes were particularly cold and arrogant. At this moment, he stepped through the air, stepped over the heads of a group of heroes of the same generation, and came to the ring. Before he made a move, his rebellious character was fully displayed. However, none of the young geniuses in the third prince's camp who were stepped over by him dared to show dissatisfaction. Instead, they all looked at the figure of the young man in white with fanatical admiration in their eyes, or at least deep awe. Jianzhu. Brother Jianzhu is here. Is he Jianzhu? Watching Jianzhu step onto the stage. On the stage side, the young geniuses of the ninth princess's faction also stared at the unruly young man in white with their eyes wide open, with fear that could not be hidden. And those who had previously lost to Jianzhu clenched their fists, with deep humiliation and unwillingness in their eyes. And as Jianzhu stepped onto the stage, in the crowd, there were two figures among the geniuses of the third prince's faction, with calm expressions, who did not care about Jianzhu's arrival at all, but were still chatting with each other. Lin Yaoyue is the #1 genius in the Shenming dynasty after all. Ninth brother is too hasty to challenge her so soon. Oh, can you blame me? Who knew that these geniuses of the same generation in the dynasty were like mud and not worth mentioning? Not to mention my ninth brother. If it were me, I would be too lazy to challenge after winning 30 games in a row, and I would directly name Lin Yaoyue. Another genius shook his head and said, they were extremely disdainful and contemptuous of the genius of the Shenming dynasty. But they were indeed qualified to say this, because the strength of the two of them was even stronger than Jianzhu, who was on the stage at the moment. Even the significance of their presence here was to ensure Jianzhu. If Jianzhu lost to Lin Yaoyue, they would take action to help Jianzhu solve this Lin Yaoyue, so that the people of the Shenming dynasty would know the majesty of their family. However, based on their observations at the moment, whether it is the 9 princesses or the 3 princes we assist, the geniuses under their command are not worth mentioning. Jinwo and Jensen shook their heads and sighed. And the surrounding Tianzhao, following Jianzhu onto the stage, they gradually became agitated, because Lin Yaoyue has not appeared yet. For those forces that have not yet expressed their stance, the geniuses who came over can still wait patiently. But how could the young geniuses in the third prince's camp miss this great opportunity to ridicule? Each of them sneered. Where is the #1 genius of our Shenming dynasty? Could he be scared and dare not come over? What #1 genius? He doesn't even know where the general trend is. Where is the destiny? He is just a mediocre talent. Brother Jin Judao is the #1 genius of our Shenming dynasty. Well said. Not only is he a mediocre person, he is also a coward. A group of geniuses under the third prince's command started to make noises, hearing their ridicule and sarcasm. The geniuses of the ninth princess's faction couldn't help but show anger and clench their fists. Lin Yaoyue is not only the #1 genius of the Shenming dynasty, but also the idol of many young geniuses in the ninth princess's faction. How could they tolerate the ridicule of these people under the third prince's command? Even many geniuses gritted their teeth and spoke out to refute. You people, stop talking nonsense here. Miss Yaoyue is not the kind of person who is afraid of fighting as you say. Today's duel is scheduled before noon, but now it's just after the court. You can't wait. Are you afraid that Miss Yaoyue will come and really defeat you? The so-called Jinju? So you are trying to discredit Miss Yaoyue at this time. The two sides of the geniuses were on the verge of a fight. But it must be said, on one side of the ring, Genju had closed his eyes and rested for a while the other side of the ring was empty, except for the geniuses under the command of the ninth princess who admired Lin Yaoyue very much. Many geniuses with a neutral attitude still had doubts in their hearts. After all, unless one party was afraid of fighting, once one party came on the stage, the other party would arrive in the shortest time, who would really delay until the scheduled noon. Could it be that Miss Yaoyue really doesn't dare to come? Just when everyone was secretly muttering in their hearts, swish. In the distance, there was a beautiful figure passing through the sky, attracting everyone's attention. Even Gu Changqing, who was hidden in the sea of clouds, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly, looking at the system bar of Lin Yaoyue. With a strange look in his eye, this little guy's fate. It must be said that Lin Yaoyue's natural fate, as the first genius of the Shenming dynasty, can indeed be described as excellent. The purple 7th grade fate is even stronger than the fate of his disciple Gu Qingcheng, even if the inheritance of the skills is not very good. Of course, this is not very good, judging from Gu Changqing's perspective, but as long as you practice well, if nothing unexpected happens, it will only be a matter of time to become a Saint Emperor Giant. Even the confidence of entering the venerable realm is not low. It's rare to be able to achieve the perfection of a half-king at this age, Gu Changqing said softly. Hearing Gu Changqing's word, several old masters who were also hidden in the sea of clouds were stunned. Perfect half-king. They were all paying attention to Lin Yaoyue's arrival and sensing Lin Yaoyue's aura, but they could only feel that Lin Yaoyue's aura fluctuations were at the half-king level. It's hard to detect the specific level. This master who looks quite extraordinary next to him actually noticed it. It can't be nonsense. An old master couldn't help but mutter. He hadn't finished speaking yet. Lin Yaoyue on this side had already landed on the ring and confronted Jianzhu from a distance. I thought you didn't dare to come. Jianzhu looked at Lin Yaoyue opposite, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Lin Yaoyue's beautiful eyes were cold. Just you. You are not enough to scare me. As soon as the voice fell, boom! Under the shocked gazes of the entire audience, the wave of Half-King's perfection surged from her body, shocking all the spectators. All of them involuntarily took a breath of cold air. Half-King perfection. Miss Yaoyue's realm has broken through again. No wonder Sister Lin came a little later this time. I think it was to consolidate her realm. Many geniuses from the Nine Princesses lineage cheered. Even those neutral geniuses were shocked by the realm aura displayed by Lin Yaoyue, and they looked at Lin Yaoyue with deep awe in their eyes. And those old generation masters were also shocked. Not only were they shocked by Lin Yaoyue's talent, but they were also shocked by Gu Changqing's eyesight. They thought that Gu Changqing was just an ordinary king-level master. Now it seems that they don't know how strong he is. But his sharp consciousness and sharp eyesight have already surpassed them by a lot. Gu Changqing, however, was too lazy to pay attention to the thoughts of these people. His eyes fell on the ring, and a scrutiny appeared in his eyes. At this time on the ring, Lin Yaoyue was already fighting with Jianzhu. On the stage, a beautiful girl swung her sword and slashed. The sword energy was like frost, and the spiritual light was like the rising cold moon. The coldness was chilling, as if it could freeze everything, forcing Jianzhu to retreat again and again. Seeing that Jianzhu was about to be forced off the stage, seeing this scene, the young geniuses of the Ninth Princess's lineage were all excited. As expected of Miss Yaoyue, Sister Lin's strength is far beyond your imagination. You can't shake the title of the first genius of the Shenming dynasty. You are arrogant because of the power of the third prince? What else do you have to say? The geniuses of the Ninth Princess's lineage cheered again and again, and the expressions of the geniuses of the third prince's lineage were much uglier. But at this moment, Jianzhu on the stage showed a playful smile. I can't shake the title of the first genius of the Shenming dynasty. It's ridiculous. The moment the voice fell, boom! At this moment, a strong wave of qi erupted from his body, which was no worse than Lin Yaoyue's, and he had reached the level of half-king perfection. Not only that, dang. The black soft sword in Jianzhu's hand also became much more fierce and powerful at this moment, like a black strange python. Every time it rushed out with a whistle, it would smash the sword qi and moonlight cut by Lin Yaoyue into pieces. It was just a few sword lights. It took back all the advantages that Lin Yaoyue had previously gained. And those geniuses under the command of the Ninth Princess who were cheering before all had stiff faces and their smiles were frozen on their faces. Jianzhu looked at this scene, and his evil taste was quite satisfied. His eyes fell on Lin Yaoyue, who was also discolored in front of him, and a hideous smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Now, do you know the difference in strength between you and me? I'll give you a chance. If you admit defeat now, I can let you walk off the stage safely. Otherwise, Lin Yaoyue bit her red lips tightly, but she showed no sign of admitting defeat. She held the Hanyu spirit sword in her hand even tighter. In that case, you can't blame me. Jianzhu sneered and swung his sword fiercely. The sword light roared like a black python. Under the shocked gaze of everyone, it hit Lin Yaoyue heavily. Lin Yaoyue only had time to hold the Hanyu sword horizontally in front of him and barely blocked it. Immediately, the whole person groaned and flew backwards, blood spurting out of his mouth. He was blasted out of the stage by this sword. It was only because of his strong accumulation that he did not faint directly. However, her condition was also extremely bad. She knelt on one knee and supported the hilt of the Hanyu sword with both hands to barely stabilize her body. Looking at Jianzhu on the stage, her eyes were filled with shock and confusion. Genji was a half-king, so she was not surprised. It was normal for someone who could defeat Ling Kong to have such a realm. But she didn't understand why she was defeated so easily when they were both half-kings. The gap in skills in martial arts. On the Sea of Clouds, Gu Changqing shook his head. Lin Yaoyue's talent was actually stronger than that of Jianju. However, the skills she practiced were much worse than those of Jianju. The origin of Jianju is not simple. The skills in martial arts he practiced may not be available to the Shenming royal family. The martial arts skills were far superior to Lin Yaoyue, so it was normal for Lin Yaoyue to fail. Gu Changqing thought about it. His eyes fell on Jianju, and a trace of inquiry appeared in his eyes. Originally, it was just to satisfy the children's wish to go out and play, but I never thought that I would get an unexpected reward. The power behind Jianju is worth paying attention to. Gu Changqing was calm, and even had the leisure to ponder the next arrangements. But the 9 princesses around the younger generation in the camp looked extremely pale when they saw Lin Yaoyue's tragic defeat. Lin Yaoyue was defeated. Their last life-saving straw was gone, and those neutral geniuses, as well as the old generation of strong men behind them, all shook their heads slightly and lost interest in the 9 princesses' side. In the game on the high-level battlefield, the 9 princesses just barely supported it and brought out all the masters to fight to a win or loss. Once the 3rd prince used all his strength, the high-level battlefield would definitely fall into a disadvantage. And here, the fight between the Qianzhao juniors couldn't even barely avoid losing. Even Lin Yaoyue was defeated miserably by Genju. What else is there for the 9 princesses to rely on? Let's go! There's no need to stay any longer. Send an envoy to pay homage to His Royal Highness the 3rd Prince after we go back. Send a message to the head of the family. Tell him not to think about joining the 9th princess and stir up trouble. It's meaningless, and the cold stove can't be stirred. One by one, the old masters made arrangements. There was a gesture of approaching the 3rd prince's side directly. Even those old masters in the 9 palace lords' camp showed their intention. Some were thinking about joining the 3rd prince. Some had already joined the camp, but were just thinking about whether to defect now and go there early. Unwilling to stay on this broken ship? For a while, the morale of the 9th princess's side fell to the lowest point, and those younger disciples who were loyal to the 9th princess, and even Lin Yaoyue, looked at the atmosphere and signs around them. There was infinite guilt and worry in their hearts. At this moment, on the Sea of Clouds, Gu Changqing's voice rang out. Kinger, I'll leave him to you. Is that okay? No problem. Master, don't worry. Gu Qinger, who had been impatient for a long time, stood up suddenly, and under the envious gazes of the younger generation of the Gu family, especially the Yunxi siblings, she immediately jumped out of the crowd and jumped onto the battle ring. In an instant, she attracted the attention of the whole audience.